I gave up on basically 15 years of trying, maybe more, for mulch gardening. It didn't work. I couldn't get the rain to rain enough to penetrate the mulch. The mulch got really, really dry and I'm unable to water my garden here. So the mulch was like an absorbent paper towel. It was like 6 inches thick to 8 inches thick. And all it would do was suck up what little ½ inch and 1 inches of rain that I would get and not even allow it to get down into my soil. So it wasn't a benefit for me. So the only thing that I use is that ripper over there. And I can make my rows, as you can see. And this is a first tillage because I've had it going for years trying to grow crops with first the Matsumoto Fukuoka method, which you put them kind of on a raised hill because he's from a rice area of Japan where it's really wet. And you try that and it didn't work because it requires drip tape around here or some kind of a water pipe. I studied it. Emilia Hazelip, a French woman, she was doing it in a dry area, but she was using drip tape too, I found out. So with all that, you can't do that. So I tried everything, and then I tried the Ruth Stout Garden, which is one of the first garden books I ever read when I was a kid, and that was hay or straw, whatever, and I had so many weed seeds coming up. It was unbelievable, and still it was too dry. The hay never did get wet underneath long enough. We have such dry summers. But this is the only tool that I use besides a bush hog. This is a 5-tined cultivator. And I take out this middle one right here, and then I can drive between the rows. I can drive right over the crop, and it'll weed the sides, and I really like that. So that's how I use it. And I'll put it back on when I want to cultivate. You can see I got perfect rows, just the right width, so that I can cultivate the weeds between them and walk between them. This is the way to go. And I got a fence up to keep the hogs out. The deer don't really bother my crops much. I have so many of them. When I'm out here, they just eat a few and jump away. Plus, my pasture is rich in broadleaf clover and all kinds of things that they like. Got a whole bunch of muscadines and pecans and stuff. They really don't bother anything, so I'm lucky there. But I couldn't grow anything with that method. I tried. It just, see, we just got a little bit of rain. See, it was just enough to put a little bottom in the bucket there. But you see, it's not enough to penetrate the ground. See this dust? It's not enough. Now think if there was mulch over it, it'd never make it. We just don't get that much rain anymore. But anyway, I'm gonna start planting now. Got very little time on that. My tomatoes didn't do well. Nothing did well without cultivation, with me. But I'm not gonna use chemical fertilizers. I'm gonna stick with my own organic cover crops. And when you're doing the mulch system, they want you to go out and buy straw or hay or something from somebody else, cover up the ground, and I just can't do that. I've got to grow my own cover crops and then use the bush hog, chop them up, and then plow them in. That's what I do. I plow them in. Well, with the cultivator. That works best for me. Now, I've tried this, like I said, man. I have done this. I've been gardening in this spot for 21 years. My land is rich, very fertile, but I've always been organic in this area. When I was younger, I used some chemical fertilizer that you buy from the feed store, granular commercial fertilizer, triple whatever, different mixtures. But now they're putting chemicals in the commercial fertilizer that they don't have to list to get rid of them. So I don't use those anymore. Haven't used them for, well, I haven't used chemical fertilizer since I was a kid, like I said. I used it when I was about 12 and 13 years old and haven't used it since. And I bought some Miracle Grow after that and it didn't help me at all, so that's the end of that. I just wanted you to know that I've eliminated my mulch garden and I'm going back to tillage. But I'm not going to overdo it. I'm not going to leave my soil barren like this. Right after I get done plowing it, it's seeded. I'm seeding that right now with cover crops. I'm going to grow broad beans, known as, oh, what do they call them? Well, they're called broad beans. fava beans is another word. I'm gonna grow mustard greens, collard greens. I'm gonna grow turnips, and I'm gonna grow, basically that's about it. There's a few things, but that's it. And some potatoes. There still might be time for some. Anyway, if I don't get this planted, I'm gonna get really wet with some rain and not get my seeds planted. So, just needed you to know that I've given up. I've tried everything. Man, this is really, I've been over a decade and a half doing this. Like I said, it was first started with the Matsumoto Fukuoka, rice farmer, who grows cover crops, scythes them down and grows in their stubble. Then doesn't till, and that works great over there, not here. I tried, well, not for me. Then I tried the Emilia Hazlip, which is the same thing, but she gets to cheat and use a hose underneath all that, and I can't do that out here. And then I tried the Ruth Stout. That didn't work for me up here. It's too hot down here, too dry, and too hard to get any water on the plants. And mulch does not conserve water for me. It ends up drying out anyway. The soil gets that dry. And then the weeds, too many weeds. Maybe if I could afford wheat straw cut before the wheat seeds come in, I don't know. That's impossible. Oh, I could probably do it myself, but I'm not gonna do that. I tried that. Then I tried the famous Paul Gauci method, which he uses wood chips and talks about them like they're in the Bible as a religious thing. My father and his wood chips, basically it's a scripture wood chips that he preaches. Well, I liked it. I thought that's really great. I tried it. I got so many wood chips on here. Now that had to be taken from elsewhere, so that was not sustainable. I had to get it, but that's okay. The wood chips I got were free, and they were just going to be thrown away. And that was all right, but it took a lot of gas hauling them 35 miles to my house from town, and it didn't work. They just don't have the nutrition in them that I thought that they would. The forest soils don't grow vegetables. Vegetables are like grasses. They need nitrogen from animals to survive. The natural prairies didn't subsist by fire. They subsisted by the giant herds of bison, and wildebeests in Africa, and bison in Europe as well, and huge herds of elk we used to have before we hunted them out. All these grasslands need their herds to be healthy. That's why they're all dying off now. But okay, I just want to tell you, whatever you're doing, that's great. I'm glad for you, but I gave up. This is officially me giving up, and I'm going back to the way I know works. When I grow it this way, I always have enough vegetables to sell, and I've always got enough vegetables to eat, and this works for me. And so, goodbye experimental gardening. Back to the old thing. I'm going to do these cover crops, and I'm going to go down each row with the bush hog in the spring. I'm going to chop them all up, and I'm going to till them in. I'm going to plant my crops each time, and when a row is finished, I back up with the tractor and I till that in, and I plant another crop. That's just how it is. And when I can, I put manure on it from my horses and my cattle, whatever I have, and my goats and my horses. But that's how it is. Okay, bye.